I had a really terrible experience at school. It didn't set me up right for the real world. I had teachers talking down to me and saying that I was going to be nothing but a dustman. That's a true story. I'll get to that in just a second. And I left with no qualifications, yet I've been able to build and scale multiple seven-figure businesses. I found that one of the biggest issues I had at school was I just couldn't pay attention. I didn't want to sit down in a chair, hands on a table, writing all day long or trying to focus on what the teacher was saying from the front of the class. I wanted to be active. I wanted to get out there into the real world. I also didn't understand why only the adults could make money and we kids were not able to. And so this led me to just be a bit of a class clown. I wasn't paying attention in school. I was constantly getting kicked out. I was expelled from school 3 days out of the 5. They kept me for 2, and then I lost an additional day. So I was only going to school 1 day a week just because my teachers didn't see any sense in me even being there. And when it came round to doing my exams at the end of school, I even found the old results from my GCSEs, as they're called here in the UK, alongside a bunch of report cards that my parents have saved, and I don't have any GCSEs. I tell my friends and family, we joke about it, I had to build a business because no one would employ me. On paper, I have absolutely nothing. Yet I've been able to go out there in the real world and I have launched multiple seven-figure businesses. And I want to share with you in this video the many lessons that I have learned that school didn't teach me. There's even a strong argument to say that the school system failed me, yet there are lessons I learned in the real world that actually set me up for success, and I'd love to share with you what they are. The first thing I learned out in the real world is the importance of not only asking questions, but how to ask questions. You know, this has been something that has been very important to me for many years. I want to understand how things work. I want to understand how certain people think, how they make decisions. And that comes down to firstly asking questions and how we ask them. There's a phrase that I want you to remember. The quality of the answer can oftentimes come from the quality of the question. So let me give you an example of a bad question. A bad question would be going up to a marketing expert, standing in front of them, you've got an opportunity to ask them one question and one question only, and you say, how can I grow my business? Well, that's a big question. There's no specificity to that question, so you're going to get a very broad, general answer that you're going to leave and feel like you wasted your opportunity to ask that question. Whereas if you'd done a bit of homework and you knew that that particular marketing expert was very proficient, how do you say? Proficient. And that particular marketing expert was very proficient in Facebook advertising, for example, then a better question would be to go up to him and say, hey, look, I'm trying to grow my business. Can you share with me the one Facebook ad and the headline that you used that has been more profitable and effective for you than any others? Now, in the same length of time, in that same conversation, you're going to leave with something very actionable as opposed to just this big 40,000 foot view answer that you're probably going to do nothing with. So asking questions is so super important. How you ask them and the quality of the answer often comes from the quality of the question. And I even say this sometimes to my clients. I hold my clients accountable to this. We'll be here in our office and we'll be having a meeting and someone's asking me a question and they're rambling and going on for 7 minutes and no one even knows what they're really asking. And so I butt in and I say, hey, sorry, James, just real quick, let me interrupt. Where are you going with this? Why don't we try again, rephrase that question? What is it you're actually wanting to learn? And we've had so many moments where they found it incredibly helpful, not patronizing, incredibly helpful, where it's like, yeah, actually, I was just getting in a bit of a, my head was scrambled eggs there, and we start again, and they ask their question in 30 seconds, and it's exactly what they needed, and I can give them a really good response. The second thing that I learned that school didn't teach me, but the real world did, is that you don't need qualifications or a university degree to go out there and be successful. You really don't. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. If you're watching this and you have one, good for you, right? But I don't have any qualifications, no GCSEs, I didn't go to university, I have no qualifications whatsoever, yet I've been able to build the business that I've been able to build, and so you don't need them. There are some careers that having a university degree are mandatory to get that career. I totally understand that. But there is a whole world out there that you could be exploring and diving into that you don't need it. Number 3, spend more time listening than talking. There are so many circumstances where this has really helped. I might be interacting with someone that I really feel like I can learn from. They have wisdom in years. They're in an industry that I want to go into. They've learned a skill that I haven't yet, but I'm interested in it, and I've had an opportunity to speak to someone like that. Well, I'm sat there and I could make the mistake of over talking. And I'm talking, and I leave that conversation thinking, I didn't learn anything because I was just blabbering on. I've got good at listening. There's moments where I just want to sit back, I want to ask a good question, and I want to sit back without interrupting and hear what that person's got to say. That skill has also served me well in my industry. I'm in the world of sales and marketing, and in sales, that is incredibly important. If you're on the phone with a prospect who's interested in your services, you can often what we call talk yourself out of the sale. You talk so much that that person is turned off from you in the business. Whereas if you just ask good questions and then listen to them on the other end of the phone, by them sharing with you and you allowing them to talk, they feel really understood, they feel really respected, you get the information you need to sell them something that will actually help them, and we've made so much extra money in our sales department by listening more than we're talking. Number 4 is this thing called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is where you're making a decision to do something. You're making a decision to use your time in a certain way, but we don't think about whether that was the best use of our time and what that's actually holding us back from. So by making a decision to spend an hour doing a certain something, what if that hour would have been better spent somewhere else or doing something else? Let's just use an easy example, right? Financial, we're trying to make money. So we're doing a task over here that's going to take us an hour. We haven't given much thought to it. We just figured, hey, well, it's got to get done, so I'll just do that. And that task is going to perhaps allow you to earn $10 in that hour. What if in that same hour you could have been doing something else and you could have made $50? Well, you could have outsourced that task perhaps to someone else and saved that hour, and over here now used your time and made $50. So 5 times your money. That's opportunity cost. How much opportunity are you missing out on by making a certain decision? So every decision I make, I think about this. How am I using my time? Where am I investing my money? With all of these things, I'm thinking about the opportunity cost and is this a good decision or should I be doing something else? The 5th thing that I've learned is that this work-life balance that everyone talks about is very different for different people. There is no one size fits all. We don't all have to leave school and go and find exactly a 9-to-5 job, and that's when we work, and we don't start a minute before 9 and we don't work a minute past 5 because that's our work-life balance. Some people aren't like that. Some people want to get ahead in life and would rather work overtime to impress their management or the bosses that are in the office because they want to have a promotion, they want to move up, they want to progress in their career, or maybe they want to start their own business. That means not confining to certain working hours. When I was starting my business, I was working till 2 o'clock in the morning, almost every day, trying to get this business moving. And even then I failed for 2 years and I continued doing that, but it's got me to a place now where I'm in a very, very good position. And even now, I like working longer than 9 to 5. I actually enjoy it. I thrive on it. I've designed my business and the life that I lead by doing tasks that I actually enjoy. Therefore, I don't feel like I'm working. Now, this is again, not to shame anyone that just likes the idea of a 9 to 5. It's not for everyone. And that's exactly the point I'm making. This work-life balance is different for everyone. Some people would prefer an easier work life and prioritize lifestyle, absolutely fine. Other people want to get ahead and progress, absolutely fine. School, I felt, taught us that there's one system and we all go down it. And I've realized that it's different for everyone. Number 6 is a very interesting one. You are the average of the 5 closest people to you. Allow that to just sink in for a moment. If you are spending the most amount of time with the 5 certain people that are around you, friends, family, spouse, whoever it is that you're choosing to spend that time to, you are going to naturally start to become the average of that group. So once you're aware of that, then you can start to put yourself in certain situations and certain circles of people that are on a journey you want to go in. If your closest 5 friends go to the pub at 5 p.m. every single day after work, if they're your closest 5 friends, you're probably just going to become the average of that too. That's just going to be part of what you do. But if you're trying to start a business, then that's not going to work for you. If you're trying to start a business, you need to surround yourself with people that think differently, that perhaps already have businesses or are on a journey to start a business, so that when you're in that group, you're all starting to think like each other as well, and you go off in a completely different direction. Now, you can take this as far as you want, but it is so true, and I've seen it so many times in my life. You're the average of the 5 closest people around you, so you really want to be selective with your inner circle. Now, that doesn't mean you cut out everyone else in your life. I'm not a proponent for that. I don't like the idea that we're supposed to cut out everyone in our life that doesn't make us happy or that is not on the same mission as us, right? I've got friends of mine that, they're still my friends, but they're perhaps not the most enjoyable to spend time with, but I'm still gonna spend time with them every now and again because they're my friends. I'm talking about that close inner circle. You've got to protect it. The next thing I learned, number 7, is that reading isn't fun. I don't enjoy it, and that's okay. We have advancements in technology that allow us to have a book read to us, and I've just found ways that I can consume information from books that doesn't mean literally only reading text on a page, but at school that's what we're taught. We've got to get good at reading, we've got to get used to reading, we do lots of reading. I'm dyslexic, I just can't figure out how to do that. It just messes with my brain. But where we're at right now is we've got audiobooks. And so what I find works great for me is I'll have a physical book out in front of me, I'll have the audiobook in my ear, and I can follow along with it being read to me. And I just find that far easier. The next lesson, number 8, is something called the 80-20 rule. And I really hope you've heard of this before. And if you haven't, you've got to make a mental note of this. The 80-20 rule dictates that there's 20% of the effort that you could be putting into something that actually correlates to 80% of the results. So what that means is, if you look at your day's tasks, there are loads of things that you could be doing, but you want to find those priority tasks. We like to talk about them in the business world as income producing activities. These are the things that if you prioritize them in the day, they're going to have a much bigger impact on the entire day or your entire business than lots of little tasks. Let's say that you had some really mindless tasks to do that really weren't that important. You had some emails to reply to, you had some filing to do, you wanted to tidy up the kitchen, you had just these little things that were on your to-do list, but you also had that one client that wanted to be reached back out to because he was interested in becoming a client, and that was there on your list somewhere, right? That is the 80-20. That task of calling that client is the 80-20. If you were to phone that client and they were to become a client and pay you money, then that was a far better task to prioritize in the day than all these other things. So you got to look for the 20% in the day that actually makes up 80% of the results. And that actually leads me on to number 9, which is that in a similar fashion of this 20% to 80%, everything that I have seen in the business world I'm going to talk about right now is very much this iceberg effect, right? Where we see the tip of the iceberg. We see someone who's built a company, launched a product, launched a website, launched an ad campaign, and we see the tip of the iceberg and we go, wow, that seems to be working for them. So I'm gonna model it, I'm gonna try it myself. And guess what? It doesn't work. And it doesn't work because we didn't see the 80% of the iceberg that was below the waterline. We just saw what was literally there bobbing above the water and we thought, well, that looks nice. We didn't see everything that went into that thing, the operation, the systems, the failure, the problems, the solutions that were found that then resulted in this ad campaign that we see and go, wow, that must be working. So I take that lesson into everything that I do. I don't take anything I see at face value. I always understand that there's an inner working of something and I strive to then learn and figure out how something was done that created the positive result. Number 10, saving money is not always the best thing to do with your money. Now, I have come to a place now where I realize having some cash on hand is very helpful, right? Cash creates options, and that is great. However, too much cash in the bank that you're not doing anything with is literally dying where it stands. Because of inflation, because of how the world continues to move on, we often think if we just put money in the bank and it stays there, that that's just maintaining. We've got money in the bank, and so it's kind of moving with the times. It's actually not. Your money is staying in the moment it was put in the bank at that current value of money. And the world is moving on and moving far past the value of that money in the bank, and it's literally depleting year on year. So there does become a moment where you need to start thinking about what you do with your money to make sure that you're putting it into big investments or small investments, whatever works for you, that ultimately is beating the rate of inflation. If you can beat the rate of inflation with an investment, then you're not making a bunch of money, but at least your money's not dying. And the 11th thing, and this is actually a big one, credit cards are not a bad thing. We were taught this at school. We were taught this when we were young. Don't take out a credit card. Actually, credit cards are so important for building your credit score. I remember me and my wife, only a few years ago, we were getting a mortgage on a house and we were doing some other bits and pieces, and we were rejected from certain applications because our credit score was not good enough. I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute, I've got a successful business, I've made millions of dollars, right? But yet I'm being denied a loan here. It's because my credit score didn't reflect, well, firstly, a good score, and I didn't show in my reputation that I was good at borrowing and paying back. There is an instance where credit cards are a bad thing, and that's only if you're borrowing money that you have no means of paying back. If you just want a new pair of Air Jordans, but you can't afford them, so you put them on a credit card and think, I'll figure out that problem of paying it back later on. That's bad debt. That's really bad debt. There is such a thing called good debt. And good debt is where you're borrowing money that you can pay back. It's easy for you to pay back, but you're borrowing it so that you can get credit card benefits, right? Credit card points, things like that. But also you're demonstrating that you can pay a credit card off on time every month. That actually builds your credit score. It's one of the biggest things that can build your credit score. Kids need to know this. And even adults that don't know this need to know this, that every single one of us should be taking out a credit card, even if it means spending £20 a month on it and paying it off. If you do that from the age of 18 up to 25, you'll have a fantastic credit score, and you'll find getting loans from the bank and your credit reputation will be so much higher. So credit cards are not bad, they're actually really, really good if used in the right way. If you'd like to learn more about my story and my journey, not just lessons from school, but lessons in business all the way through to millions of dollars, there's a video right here. I'll walk you through my journey, start to finish, all the way from school, but all the way through my business journey as well. Check it out, I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel right now, and I'll see you in a future video.